We all love a bit of a bargain, and when you're looking out for them in the supermarket, one of the things that you're most likely to see on special offer is wine. It's very difficult to walk down the aisles these days without being confronted by signs offering us bottles for half price or 3 for a tenner. But although we're all drinking more wine than ever before, not too many of us are experts, and we don't always feel confident when confronted by all the jargon. And of course that makes it all too easy for us to be bamboozled when we're trying to work out which of these wine offers really does offer the best value. It's not so long ago that for most people, the choice was pretty simple when it came to wine, red or white. And if you were somewhere really exotic, there might even be a bottle of rosé available as well. Nobody but real connoisseurs bothered very much about the grapes or the vintage. But over the past 3 decades, that has all changed. Britain has transformed from a nation of warm beer drinkers to one of wine lovers. We're drinking nearly 6 times more wine than we did in the 1970s. And of course that means the wine trade is big business. We drink 1.7 billion bottles in the UK each year. It's become Britain's favourite tipple. Much more popular than beer, cider or indeed spirits. We've fallen absolutely in love with wine. But how do we know a good bottle when we see it? Or indeed, how to spot a really good price? These days, most of the wine bought in Britain, around 3/4 in fact, is bought in supermarkets. And the market is worth a hefty £6 billion a year. And more than half of the wine we buy in the supermarket is on some sort of special offer. But that may not be quite the good news it sounds. Former industry insider turned consumer champion James Ford says there is a reason why the stores make the offers so attractive.
During my time with the supermarkets, the wine promotions were absolutely crucial to the stores because it's all about getting the customers in and then hoping that they buy lots of other products.
So let's look at the wine aisle. How do you sum it up?
I would sum it up as possibly the most confusing part of the store. 3 for 2, half price, 10% off. It's just incredible. You've got to try and wade through this promotional confusion, really, just to work out what's a good deal.
I find myself going back for that label just because it's pretty and it looks nice and I've tasted it before.
Absolutely. People like to go with what they know or what they've seen other people buy, which is why just a handful of lines will take the lion's share of the sales in most stores.
But how can you navigate your way through all those prices and offers when it's hard to tell in the first place what a bottle is really worth? With less choice of varieties, it's pretty simple to work out what, for example, a particular brand of baked beans or instant coffee should cost. But with wine and all the different grapes and vintages, I'm afraid it isn't that easy. Well, we thought we'd do a little experiment on the street. So I've been to the supermarket, I bought 2 bottles of red wine, and one is actually quite a lot more expensive than the other. The French triple on the left is £14.99, and the Italian job on the right is £5.99. The question is, how many of you would guess which is which? Would like you to have a look at these and see which one you think is the cheaper. See what you think.
Good one.
So, which bottle do our wine drinkers think is the most expensive and why? Put the price tags on whichever one you think is the cheaper.
That one's corked and that one's screw top.
Right.
That one I would think is more expensive.
This is more expensive, you think?
By the labelling.
Yeah. Now, why do you think that? Because it's French?
Because it's French.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
The question is, who got it right? But I'm going to tell you that this is the more expensive.
Right.
And look at the difference in price, by the way. Are you surprised?
Yeah.
You were totally wrong. Well, I'm going to reveal now because that actually is the most expensive.
I'm surprised by the price that one's coming out at.
You're spot on.
Oh, right, that's good.
Because that is the most expensive. So in actual fact, you were spot on.
Oh.
And this is the cheaper.
Were both right.
So you did it well.
Yeah.
Good for you.
We both agreed on it, but
Yeah.
in different ways.
Yeah.
And you know your wine, so well done you.
Yeah.
Excellent. But it's no wonder that many of us are left wondering when it comes to wine. The very language they use can make it all seem a very mysterious business. Very nice. Quite sweet. So if you're not an expert, how do you know whether you're getting a good wine at a good price? Actually, it's very clean on the palate, isn't it?
Very clean, very fresh,
nice.
very simple.
Yeah.
And actually,
Fraser Thompson runs the Chapeldown Vineyard in Kent and thinks that we should call time on confusing prices. How would you convince me that I should pay more, for example, for this wine than a cheaper white that I might pick up on offer?
I think pricing in supermarkets can be very, very confusing. It's a hugely complicated industry. You know, you've got different grapes, different regions, different styles of wine. There's all sorts of confusion out there. And actually the price is your best indicator, because buying wine that's very cheap really isn't a very smart thing to do.
And in a way, you can't blame the consumer. It's very easy for the supermarket to play around with prices.
Well, in the UK, we tax wine very, very highly. So you pay £2 on any bottle of wine. And then, of course, we put a VAT on top of that tax. So if you buy a bottle of wine for, say, £3.99, 67% goes straight to the government. Then if you take out what the supermarket have to earn a little bit of money, what's the winemakers, the transport costs, everything else, you've probably got grapes in there that's worth about twopence.
Wow.
Now, if
I think people are really surprised at that, actually.
Well, actually, if you spend as much as £5 a bottle, you are getting wine in there that's probably worth around about 40p. If you then go up and you're prepared to pay £10 a bottle, then you're getting 75 times the value of fruit in it.
So, with those fixed costs accounting for so much of the price you pay, some people might say that when it comes to wine, you really do get what you pay for, and that you may get better value and quality from a wine that has a higher cost. Now, of course, that's not always the case, and you can get some very well-chosen, excellent quality wines from all the big supermarkets, sometimes for under a fiver. But that's where things can get tricky, because as if working out what your wine is worth wasn't complicated enough, the supermarkets can confuse things even further with all their special offers. Look at the promotional labels and you'll be convinced that you're getting an absolute bargain. But is that always the case? Later in the programme, we go undercover in the big stores' wine aisles to see if some of those bottles on offer were ever really worth the higher cost that the stores claim is the normal full price.
So somebody might be tempted to buy this at full price, which is why I'm so alarmed by these tactical brands, because it doesn't offer value for money.
Now, when we're trying to choose between products in the supermarket, very often we might plump for the ones that seem to be flying the flag. Buying British, we hope, is a way of ensuring quality and freshness, not to mention allowing us all to do our bit for the economy. But it seems that buying products which are actually made in Britain may not always be as straightforward as it appears. First, there were the Jubilee celebrations, then the Olympics.
Earlier in the programme, we started investigating the true value of a bottle of wine so that you can try and work out whether all those supermarket offers are really as good a deal as they look. Now, with so many of them sold with hefty reductions or even half price, there's no doubt that it all feels as if it's a bargain. But we've been looking very carefully at the figures, and with at least some of those offers, we're not being told the whole story. Jamie Good knows his wine. He's been writing about the subject for 14 years and just loves the job.
A red Burgundy you'd expect to taste like red Burgundy. It has a sense of place because it's more than just a liquid in a bottle. It's got a story behind it.
But what he doesn't love is the way supermarkets promote their wine.
I think it's really tough for most people when they go into a supermarket because they're faced with the famous wall of wine. 200, 300 bottles, many of which look quite similar. It's very hard to distinguish where the wine really comes from or what it's going to taste like. And the only buying cue that punters are left with often is these bright orange stickers saying half price or, a third off.
Now, the supermarkets really live up to the name when it comes to wine. Supermarketing all those bottles to try and get us to part with our cash. I've just been to a big store nearby to have a look really at what's on offer. I'll be honest with you, I was so bamboozled by the sheer volume of half price and 2 for 1 and this and that I came away not being quite sure whether I got good value or not. We sent Jamie, the self-proclaimed Robin Hood of the wine world, undercover in some of the UK's biggest supermarkets to see exactly what he made of all the deals on offer and to find out some of the secrets of the supermarket shelves.
My first impression is that just how many of these rollback signs there are. I mean, unlike any of the other aisles in store, there just seems to be so many of them.
Amongst all those offers were plenty of half-price deals as well.
The one half price here, another one here, 2, 3, another half price one here. Makes it 4, I believe, or 5, and this is 6. Oh, another 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, because the one's just sold out there, it seems. It's a huge number of them, really.
But in Jamie's opinion, these offers aren't always a good deal, because he doesn't think that all of them were ever really worth the higher price they'd originally been sold at. And he says looking at the detail on the back of the label may reveal information about that half-price wine that you didn't expect.
This is a Chardonnay from southeastern Australia, but if you look on the back here, there's a clue. It says M44 6BD, which is the postcode of the bottling plant. So this is actually bottled not far away from where we are now. So the wine will have been shipped from Australia in large flex tanks of 25,000 litres and then trucked up to Manchester. You know, it's probably at best a £5 wine, which is what it's selling for now.
However, Jamie did find some offers that he liked.
I mean, this Torres Vino Sol, it's a nice wine. At the regular price of £6.75, it's not a bad deal at all. And at this discount price of £5, well, that's a good buy. And that's a proper wine at a good price.
But all of the supermarkets we filmed in had offers that Jamie felt didn't always reflect the wine's true value. He suspects the higher price some of these wines are sold at is an inflated one, so that the stores can discount the wines and make them look like a bargain.
So this is a wine I've seen before, and it's a Bordeaux wine, £11.29, but this is one of those brands. It's regularly on offer at half price. Currently not on offer, so it's full price. So somebody might be tempted to buy this at full price, which is why I'm so alarmed by these tactical brands, because it doesn't offer value for money.
In fact, this wine, which has received various commendations and awards, had been on special offer no less than 5 times in the past year. Its price kept on changing, from as much as $14.99 to as little as $7.99, making it very hard to gauge the true value.
I feel really sorry for the producers of wines who don't play this game, because how can they compete with a half-price offer? Everybody likes to have a half-price wine.
And what's wrong with that? If we end up with wine sold at a lower cost and we feel that we're getting a bargain, surely for most that's good news.
You might think, this is great, everyone's a winner, what's not to like? Well, actually, I think the problem is that even at half price, many of these wines are still, I think, quite poor value.
Supermarket chains put a lot of effort into their wines, and there's no doubt that their buyers usually select an excellent range, often including some great bottles from their own brand labels. So when you don't have to break the bank to find a decent bottle, Jamie thinks we shouldn't be seduced by all those offers.
Even if you've only just got a £5 note to spend on a bottle of wine, you can still get some quite good wines these days. It's just going for the half-price offers isn't the way to do it.
Of course, supermarkets can charge what they like, but with so many deals at once, unless you're a wine buff, it's not that easy for the average shopper to know which are a bargain. So how can you exactly work that out? Well, one good way to find out is to take the average price over the last year. And when you work that out, believe me, the results can be very surprising. James Ford runs a price comparison site where you can check how the price of supermarket goods have changed over the last 12 months. It calculates the average price of a product over the year so that you can see how that compares to the price right now, and it's pulled together some figures for wine.
We've looked at all the wines sold by the top 5 online supermarkets and looked at how many of those wines are on promotion, which ones were not as good as you would probably think.
Am I going to be a bit shocked?
You might be with some of the results.
Let's have a look.
Across the 5 biggest online supermarkets, they sell just over 4,000 wines between them,
wow,
of which almost 1,400 are on promotion. So that's 1 in 3.
1 in 3 on promotion.
Which is why there's so much confusion for you and I when trying to figure out what to buy.
James can very quickly see that the price of some bottles just keeps on changing. And look at the peaks and troughs.
Yeah,
up,
so
down, up, down, up, down.
Exactly. So this is fairly typical. High 1 minute, low the next minute.
But according to James's figures, you're not always necessarily getting the bargain you might think. Take this French wine at Tesco's. It was £14.99, now half price at £7.49. But actually, according to James's figures, it was only sold at that full price for a total of 2 months of the past year. At Asda, This bottle of Italian wine was £7, now it's £4. Feels like a bargain, but it had been sold at that £4 price or even less for nearly 3/4 of the last year. And at Sainsbury's, there's this own brand red reduced from £6.49 to £4.86. But again, this wine had only been sold at that higher price for 61 days in the past 12 months. And on top of that, at all the supermarkets James looked at, he even found examples where the special offer price was actually higher than the average price, so not such a good deal after all.
Here's a rather nice Italian red, but look at this. The average price over the previous year is £8.97. If you buy this promotion today, you're paying 7% more than the average price.
Actually, that would be very disappointing if you bought the offer and then discovered you're paying more than the average price.
Well, I think he'd be very disappointed, but the chances are you wouldn't know.
James did find plenty of good offers out there too. But it's difficult to know just which ones are genuine bargains without doing some very serious research. We asked the supermarkets about the way they price their wine. Tesco said that as the UK's largest seller of wine, it takes its responsibility to their customers very seriously. But those customers repeatedly say they're satisfied with both the quality and value for money. Sainsbury's told us that they work hard to keep prices down and offer genuine price reductions and promotions. And they explained wine prices are dependent on a number of factors, including harvest yields, transport costs and duties, as well as movements in global demand and currencies, so can fluctuate because of one or several of these over the year. Both stores also queried some of our figures, pointing out that new guidelines from the Office of Fair Trading prevent products from being on sale at a reduced price for longer than they were on sale at the full price. But when we double-checked the prices with James Ford, he was very confident they were correct, adding that his data is based on information from the store's own websites. Asda told us it takes pricing so seriously, it recently employed a new team within the business to look at all aspects of its pricing and challenge pricing practices in store. The store also stressed it would never deliberately mislead customers, and its aim is always to offer the lowest prices for the longest. But it looks like those offers and promotions will continue to dominate the wine aisles, even if critics like Jamie would like to see that change.
I think it would be great if the wine industry were more transparent and more honest with its customers. The danger is people will lose trust in the supermarkets that are backing these half-price deals.
Here at Rip Off Britain, we're always ready to investigate more of